Hello everyone, it's Chelina again, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're diving back into the Scream franchise to tackle a question that's been on my mind. Which Ghostface, from Scream 1 through 7, is actually the most evil? We're going to be looking at every killer across all 7 films, breaking down their motives, their actions, and what really drove them to put on that iconic mask. As always, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Ghostface is a cultural phenomenon that has terrified audiences for nearly 3 decades. Unlike other horror icons like Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, or Jason Voorhees, Ghostface isn't a single supernatural entity or an unkillable force of nature. Instead, Ghostface represents something far more unsettling, the darkness that can exist within ordinary people. Behind that haunting white mask and flowing black robe is a human being driven by twisted ambition. What makes Ghostface truly unique in the horror landscape is that anyone can become Ghostface. Throughout the Scream franchise, we've seen both teenagers and adults take on the Ghostface identity. Each killer brings their own motives and their own level of cruelty to the role. The mask is a blank canvas, and whoever wears it projects their own darkness onto it. This democratization of evil is what makes Ghostface so terrifying. It could be your classmate, your neighbor, or someone you trust completely. However, while anyone can put on the Ghostface costume, not all Ghostfaces are created equal. Some killed out of passion or revenge, while others were calculated psychopaths who reveled in the suffering they caused. The question we're exploring today isn't just who wore the mask, it's who wore it with the most evil intent. As we journey through all 7 Scream films, we'll examine what separates a desperate killer from a truly depraved monster, and ultimately determine which Ghostface stands as the most evil of them all. Before we dive into ranking these killers, we need to establish the criteria we'll be using to determine who truly deserves the title of most evil Ghostface. This isn't just about who killed the most people or who had the goriest murders. Evil is far more complex than that, and we need to look at the complete picture of each killer. We'll be evaluating every Ghostface across 4 main categories: their motives, their brutality, their psychological cruelty, and their body count. All 4 of these factors will be weighed equally in our assessment. A killer with a lower body count but truly sadistic motives could rank higher than someone who racked up more kills but had understandable reasons. Similarly, someone who brutalized their victims physically might not be as evil as someone who destroyed them psychologically first. Every aspect matters, and none takes precedence over the other. Now, let's talk about what counts. For this ranking, we're only considering the official Scream theatrical films. That means Scream 1 through 7. No television shows, no video games. Yes, I'm looking at you, Dead by Daylight and Mortal Kombat. And definitely no fan films. Only what's canon in the main movie franchise will be evaluated. Finally, and this is crucial, to be considered a Ghostface in this ranking, the person must have committed at least 1 kill while wearing the mask or acting as Ghostface. 1 confirmed kill is the minimum entry requirement to this dark Hall of Fame. With those rules established, let's begin examining each Ghostface and seeing who rises or sinks to the top. Coming in at number 16 on our most evil list is Nancy Loomis, better known as Billy Loomis's mother and the mastermind behind the Scream 2 killings. Nancy's placement at the bottom of this ranking might surprise some viewers, but when we break down her profile against our criteria, it becomes clear why she's the least evil Ghostface in the franchise. Let's start with her body count. Nancy is only confirmed to have killed 1 person, Randy Meeks. While Randy's death was absolutely devastating for fans and marked one of the franchise's most shocking moments, a single kill puts Nancy far behind most other Ghostfaces in terms of sheer destruction. Her motive was revenge, plain and simple. Nancy blamed Sidney Prescott for her son Billy's death and for the destruction of her family. She wanted Sidney to suffer the way she had suffered. Now, while revenge is certainly not a justification for murder, it's worth noting that this motive had already been done before in the original Scream with Billy. Nancy was essentially recycling her own son's playbook. Despite being the mastermind of Scream 2, orchestrating the killings alongside Mickey, Nancy comes across as arguably the most tamed Ghostface in the entire franchise. She lacked the sadistic pleasure that so many other killers displayed. There was no gleeful phone banter, no creative cruelty, no psychological torture for the sake of enjoyment. She was focused, methodical, and driven by a specific goal: make Sidney pay. Perhaps most tellingly, had Nancy actually gotten away with her murders, I genuinely don't think she would have gone on to kill again. Her vendetta was personal and finite. Once Sidney was dead and her revenge was complete, what would be left? Nancy wasn't a serial killer at heart. She was a grieving mother who took her pain and turned it into violence. That doesn't make her less of a murderer, but it does make her less evil than the killers we'll be discussing next. While I absolutely loved Liana Liberato's performance and the shocking reveal that Quinn had been alive all along, coming in at number 15 is Quinn Bailey from Scream 6. Once again, we have revenge as the primary motive. Are we noticing a pattern yet? Quinn was driven by anger over Sam Carpenter killing her brother Richie in Scream 5, and she joined her father and brother in their plot to frame Sam as the real villain. Psychologically, there's not much depth to Quinn beyond that surface-level rage. She was mad that her brother died, and she wanted Sam to pay for it. The most psychologically manipulative thing she did was help spread rumors online that Sam was the actual killer in Woodsboro, trying to turn public opinion against her. While that does show some cunning, it's relatively tame compared to the mind games other Ghostfaces have played. Quinn's body count sits at just one confirmed kill, Gail's boyfriend, who had maybe 15 seconds of total screen time in the entire movie. One relatively minor character who audiences barely had time to connect with before he was gone. But what really lands Quinn at number 15 is that she's arguably the most incompetent Ghostface in the entire franchise. Let's look at her track record. She failed to kill Gale Weathers despite having multiple opportunities and the element of surprise. She failed to kill Mindy despite stabbing her on the subway. Her one successful kill was against an unprepared victim who never saw it coming. When it actually came down to confronting the main characters who could fight back, Quinn consistently came up short. She was sloppy, she was ineffective, and frankly, she was more of a liability to her family's plan than an asset. Quinn had the anger, she had the motive, but she lacked the skill, the body count, and the psychological edge to rank any higher on this list. Coming in at number 14 is Jason Carvey, who holds the distinction of being the first Ghostface to serve as the opening title kill. And before you all start whining in the comments, "But Chelina, Jason wasn't a true Ghostface." Remember my rules, people. Jason had one confirmed kill, his film professor. That's all he needed to qualify for this list. His motive, had he survived to become the main Scream 6 killer, was to finish Richie's film. Movies as a motive, which again has been done to death in this franchise. Billy and Stu, Jill and Charlie, Amber and Richie. Need I say more? Jason was essentially retreading very familiar ground, and there's nothing particularly original or uniquely evil about wanting to complete someone else's twisted project. However, where Jason distinguishes himself from Nancy and Quinn is in his psychology. This is where things get genuinely disturbing. When the real Ghostface calls him and asks what it was like to kill, Jason's response is chilling.
I mean, when the knife went in her, it's like she wasn't human anymore. Just an animal. And every time it went in, she was less and less human. And then she was just meat.
That response reveals someone who enjoyed the dehumanization of his victim. He savored watching a living person become reduced to nothing. That's a level of sadistic pleasure we didn't see from Nancy or Quinn, who killed out of anger and grief. Jason killed because it made him feel powerful, and he relished every second of it. His one kill was also leagues more brutal than anything Nancy or Quinn delivered. The sheer savagery he displayed puts him above the previous two entries, even with the same body count. Jason Carvey may have been taken out early, but he showed us enough darkness to earn his spot at number 14. Coming in at number 13 is Marco Davis from Scream 7, the orderly from Fallbrook Hospital. Oh my god, one of the worst Ghostface reveals in the entire franchise. His motive is that he knows about AI and technology, and it's implied he likes Jessica Bowden, I guess, which makes him a simp. Him and Jessica's goal was to kill Sydney in front of Tatum and make her the new final girl. I just can't. Anyway, it's hard to say definitively who he killed, but I'm going to say he has a body count of 3, just from what I've deduced. And you guys can disagree with me if you want in the comments. His kills are brutal, I'll give him that. He sets one of his opening kills on fire while she's still alive as he burns down Stu's house, which is genuinely horrific. Though, to be quite honest, all the kills in Scream 7 were brutal across the board, so Marco doesn't particularly stand out even in that department. Psychologically, he's just so blah and forgettable. Who is he again? There's no compelling backstory, no interesting twisted logic, no memorable dialogue or chilling moments that make you understand what drives him. He's just there because the plot needs another Ghostface, and his connection to Jessica feels forced and underdeveloped. The AI and technology angle could have been interesting in someone else's hands, but with Marco, it falls completely flat. He ranks above Jason Carvey purely because of the higher body count and the fire kill being exceptionally brutal, but beyond that, Marco is proof that not every Ghostface needs to exist. Moving on from the worst Ghostface reveal in the entire franchise, we arrive at number 12. Ethan Landry, better known as Ethan Bailey. Just like his sister Quinn, revenge for Richie is his motive. Another Bailey family member, another revenge plot. Nothing we haven't seen before. Ethan's body count sits at 2. Quinn's boyfriend and Mindy's girlfriend Annika. He really seems to hate significant others. Probably because he himself admitted he's a virgin. No shade to virgins, but it does seem like there might be some projection happening there. He's taking out his frustrations on people who have what he doesn't, and that adds a layer of patheticness to his kills. Brutality? Yeah, his kills were brutal. Annika's death in particular was drawn out and agonizing, making Mindy and the others watch helplessly as she struggled across that ladder before falling to her death. Ethan made sure his victims suffered, and he made sure their loved ones suffered watching it happen. Psychologically, Ethan clearly had a way bigger thirst for violence compared to Quinn, who was more emotion-driven and sloppy. You could tell Ethan enjoyed killing. He wasn't just doing this for his brother or his father. He was doing it because he liked it. There was genuine excitement in his eyes during the final confrontation, a kind of manic glee that showed he'd been waiting his whole life to unleash this side of himself. He was the true believer in the Bailey family plan, the one who was most eager to put on the mask and stab people. Ethan edges out Marco because while both are forgettable in terms of motive, Ethan at least showed personality and genuine bloodlust. He's still bottom tier, but he's not the absolute worst. Coming in at number 11 is Karl Gibbs. Okay, so this guy I find interesting. He's one of the Ghostfaces in Scream 7 who actually gets killed a little over a third of the way through the film, getting run over by Gale. But what makes him interesting to me is that, like Mickey Altieri, this guy was already a serial killer before becoming Ghostface. He was a patient at the psychiatric hospital where Marco worked, having been sentenced for the murder of 3 women prior to the events of the film. We never got any dialogue from Karl, so we don't really know his motive, but it is implied he was obsessed with Tori Spelling, Sydney's in-universe actress from the Stab films, so we can assume he was familiar with Stab and the whole Ghostface mythology, but again, there's not much to go off of. For all we know, his motive could have just been, why not? He was a killer who saw an opportunity to kill again and took it. Again, it's hard to figure out his exact body count as Scream 7 has only been out for less than 2 months since release, but I'm going to take a guess and say 2. Hannah and Aaron. Hannah's death being extremely brutal as he slowly gutted her while she was still harnessed in the air in her high school theater. That kill alone shows a level of sadism and theatricality that puts him above some of the other lower-ranked Ghostfaces. Psychologically, we don't have much to go off of other than the fact that he was clearly mentally ill, otherwise he wouldn't have ended up in a state hospital rather than a state prison. There's something deeply wrong with Karl beyond just being a murderer. He was deemed too unstable for the general prison population. I really think he was a missed opportunity. A pre-existing serial killer who becomes Ghostface? That's a goldmine of potential that the film barely explored. If we'd gotten more backstory, more insight into what made Karl tick, he could have ranked much higher on this list. Coming in at number 10 is Charlie Walker. Now we're getting into the deep shit. Charlie is my most hated Ghostface, and I would love nothing more than to have put him dead last on this fucking list. But sadly, the rules are the rules, and I have to be objective about this. Charlie's motive? He was a simp. Plain and simple. He was so desperate for Jill's attention and affection that he was willing to murder multiple people just to make her famous. He bought into her promises, believed she actually cared about him, and killed for her like a lovesick puppy. It's pathetic. His body count is 5. I know some of you are losing your minds right now, but Chelina, he had 7 kills. You're stupid. Delete your channel. Listen, I don't buy that Jill only had 2 kills, so deal with it. I'm redistributing some of those deaths based on what makes sense to me, and Charlie gets 5. Brutality-wise, holy shit, Charlie was brutal. The scene with Olivia is one of the most iconic deaths in the entire franchise. I definitely put it in my top 3, despite Scream 4 not being my favorite film. The way he just destroyed her while Sidney and Kirby watched helplessly through the window, that was visceral, that was savage, and that was designed to traumatize the witnesses as much as kill the victim. Psychologically, Charlie was pretty messed up. He did enjoy killing and got a sick pleasure out of it. I mean, all his kills are drawn out and theatrical. He was doing it because some part of him genuinely loved the violence. He relished being Ghostface, and you could see it in how much effort he put into every kill. So, there you have it, Charlie fans. Am I not merciful? He's number 10, safely out of the bottom tier, despite being my personal least favorite. Say thank you to me in the comments. Coming in at number 9 is Jessica Bowden, the third and final killer of Scream 7 and Sidney's neighbor. As with Marco, her motive was to kill Sidney in front of Tatum so she could become the new final girl. And then what? Strike me down with all your hate? What's the end game here, Jessica? She was obsessed with Sidney after reading Out of Darkness, which gave her the strength to kill her abusive husband. But her obsession fell flat on its face when she was angry that Sidney didn't help out during the New York attacks in Scream 6. The problem is, Jessica wasn't in Scream 6, nor did she have any connection to Sam or Tara, so why does she even care? Consistency is all I ask for, people. Her motivation makes no sense when you actually think about it for more than 5 seconds. Her body count of 2 is really lackluster, especially for a main Ghostface reveal. But both her kills were brutal, so I'll give her that much credit. She knew how to make her victims suffer. But what truly makes her evil, what pushes her above Charlie and the others below her, is that she killed her own son, Lucas, by piking him onto a beer tap. That's right, she murdered her own child in the worst possible way, to further her twisted plan. That makes her only the second Ghostface in the entire franchise to kill her own family member, outside of Jill Roberts. Killing strangers is one thing. Killing people you have a grudge against is another. But killing your own flesh and blood? Your own child? That's a level of depravity that crosses a line most of these other killers never even approached. Jessica's motive might be inconsistent and nonsensical, but her willingness to sacrifice her own son for her delusional obsession earns her this spot at number 9. Now we're starting to get into upper territory. Coming in at a solid number 8 is the third and final killer of Scream 6, Detective Wayne Bailey. While his motive was revenge, yet again, and pretty bland at that, his body count of 6 makes him the third deadliest Ghostface of all time. That alone demands respect, even if we don't like the character. His NYPD training gives him skills that other Ghostfaces simply don't have. He knows how to fight, how to strategize, how to manipulate crime scenes, and how to use his authority to his advantage. Outside of Roman and Mickey, I don't think any of the other Ghostfaces on this list could take him in a one-on-one fight. I'm keeping it real here. Wayne is a legitimate physical threat in a way most of these killers aren't. He also had no qualms about attacking in crowded public areas, such as the bodega scene. This man did not care about witnesses or getting caught in the moment. He was bold, he was confident, and he knew he could use his badge to cover his tracks. In terms of brutality, the guy was a fucking bulldozer. He didn't do elaborate theatrical kills. He just went in and destroyed people with raw power and aggression. But what really takes the cake and pushes him into the top half of this list is the psychological aspect. This guy swore an oath to protect the public and uphold the law, and he became a serial killer. He used his position as a detective, someone the public is supposed to trust, to commit murders and frame innocent people. That's a betrayal of society itself. Wayne corrupted the very institution meant to stop people like him. That's a special kind of evil that goes beyond personal revenge. Moving on to number 7 is Huey from The Boys. Just kidding, but he is played by the same actor, Jack Quaid. This is Richie Kirsch from Scream 5, or as it should have been called, 5 Cream. Seriously, Spyglass, you had one job with that title and you fumbled it. Richie's motive was to requel the Stab franchise because Hollywood had completely run out of ideas and kept bastardizing the series with terrible sequels. Now, you could argue his plan was just a rehash of Jill Roberts and Charlie Walker's reboot spree from Scream 4, and you wouldn't be entirely wrong, but there's a key difference. Richie's motive was actually more selfless than Jill's narcissistic fame grab. He genuinely believed he was doing the franchise, and by extension the fans, a favor by creating the perfect story to revitalize Stab. In his twisted mind, he was a guardian of cinema. He has a body count of just one, Wes Hicks, which will make you all think I'm trolling by putting him this high on the list. But remember, no category takes precedence over the other, and Richie excels in areas that matter just as much as body count. Brutality-wise, Wes's death was relatively quick, a stab to the neck. Nothing particularly drawn out or sadistic there, but psychologically, Richie is operating on another level. He manipulated Amber into doing all the heavy lifting for him, letting her rack up the kills while he played the supportive boyfriend. He tricked Sam for who knows how long into thinking he genuinely loved her, building an entire relationship on lies just to get close to her for the plan. He had such a charming and funny personality that you almost wished he wasn't the killer. Richie is one of the few Ghostfaces who I genuinely believe sees himself as the good guy, a hero saving cinema from itself. That delusion, combined with his masterful manipulation, earns him the number 7 spot. Okay, this is going to get me killed. Coming in at number 6 on our countdown of the most evil Ghostfaces is Billy Loomis. The original, the icon, the one who literally created Ghostface and started this entire franchise, is only at number 6. I know the pitchforks are already coming out. How dare you rank Billy this low? He's the most iconic. He's the blueprint. He's the face of the franchise. Delete your channel. I get it. Billy is beloved. He's quotable, he's got that psychotic charm that made him a horror legend. But hear me out, because when you actually break down what Billy did against our established criteria and compare him to the absolute monsters higher on this list, the numbers don't lie. Being iconic doesn't automatically make you the most evil. Let's start with body count. Billy has 2 kills to his name, Casey Becker and Principal Himbry. I don't think he killed Tatum, I think that was Stu. Just 2 confirmed kills. His motive was revenge against Maureen Prescott for having an affair with his father, which caused his mother to leave him, but it was the first movie, so the revenge angle gets a pass. Billy was the one who established revenge as the go-to Ghostface motivation, and every killer who used it after him was just copying what he did first. What makes Billy truly dangerous is that he got away with murdering Maureen for an entire year. He spent that whole time pretending he loved Sydney and even took her virginity, all while knowing he was the one who killed her mother. That level of sustained deception and psychological manipulation is something most Ghostfaces could never pull off. He lived a double life for 12 months, looking his girlfriend in the eyes every day while hiding the fact that he destroyed her family. Billy created Ghostface. He invented the identity, the methodology, the whole concept. Even Roman himself admitted he had no idea that Billy would go on to start his own killing spree after Maureen. Roman may have planted the idea, but Billy transformed it into something much bigger and more terrifying. His kills weren't as brutal as what we see in later films. They were relatively quick and straightforward compared to the elaborate torture scenes that came later in the franchise. Psychologically, this is where Billy fucking shines. To this day, almost no Scream sequel has captured the terrorizing mind games as well as the original. The phone calls, the taunting, the way Billy made everyone paranoid. It set a standard that most sequels have failed to match. But at the end of the day, Billy was manipulated by Roman, and he only killed out of revenge. For all his cunning and all his psychological warfare, he was still someone else's puppet, and his motivation was ultimately personal vendetta rather than pure evil for evil's sake. And now we arrive at the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Roman Bridger from Scream 3. Please don't kill me, Roman fans. He's actually one of my favorites, and I would love to give him the top spot. But the criteria are the criteria, and we have to be fair here. Roman's primary motive is revenge against Maureen Prescott and Sydney for the life he never got to have. Revenge? Huh, never seen that before in this franchise. Truly groundbreaking stuff. But before you write him off as just another revenge-driven killer, stick with me, because Roman brings something unique to the table that elevates him above the rest. With a body count of 9 kills, Roman comes out on top as being the deadliest Ghostface in the entire series. Why? Because he's the only solo killer in the franchise. Every other high body count Ghostface had a partner to split the workload with, but Roman did all 9 kills by himself. That makes him the undisputed king of Ghostfaces when it comes to pure lethality. 9 people dead by one man's hands is an achievement no other Ghostface can claim. Now, his brutality was admittedly on the lower end due to the Columbine massacre happening right before Scream 3's release, which forced the filmmakers to tone down the violence significantly. The kills are quicker and less graphic than what we see in other films. However, to his credit, Roman was physically dominating in a way few other Ghostfaces have been. This man attacked Dewey, Tyson, Jennifer, and Gale at the same time, and not only held his own against all 4 of them, but he fucking won! He was strong, he was fast, and he was relentless. Most Ghostfaces struggle in one-on-one combat, but Roman was taking on multiple opponents simultaneously. But where Roman truly shines is psychologically. This is where he separates himself from nearly every other killer on this list. Roman cloned people's voices using technology that was cutting edge for 2000. He weaponized actual voice recordings to manipulate his victims and create alibis for himself. He tormented Sydney psychologically to the point where she was starting to believe she was losing her sanity. He weaponized information about Maureen's history in ways that cut deeper than any knife could. And to this day, Roman remains the only Ghostface who actually tried to frame Sydney for the murders. He wanted to destroy her reputation, make the world think she was the monster, and walk away as the hero. That level of calculated psychological warfare is something even Billy Loomis and Jill Roberts didn't achieve. But what ranks Roman this high, in my opinion, is the fact that he had absolutely no reason to kill his entire cast and crew. None of them had anything to do with what Maureen did to him. So why did he slaughter all these innocent people who had nothing to do with his trauma? Well, this brings us to his second motive. He wanted Sydney's stardom and fame by becoming the sole survivor of his own horror movie. Roman Bridger paved the way for Jill Roberts. He understood that in the modern world, victimhood and survival could be monetized and transformed into a platform. He wanted to take Sydney's life, her story, her fame, and make it his own. He wanted everything Sydney had that he believed should have been his from birth. And you have to appreciate that even though he's working alone and carrying twice the workload of any partnered Ghostface team, he makes up for it by having 2 distinct motives driving him forward: revenge against his birth mother and half-sister, and ambition to claim the fame he felt entitled to. Roman is the complete package: highest body count, complete psychological mastery, physical dominance, and dual motivations. The only things holding him out of the top spot are the reduced brutality due to real-world circumstances, and the fact that, like Billy, his core motivation is still ultimately revenge. But make no mistake, Roman Bridger is elite-tier evil. Most of you are going to want to kill me for not making her number 1, But coming in at number 4 is Jill Roberts, Roman and Sydney's maternal cousin. But stay with me here, because I promise this placement makes sense when you look at the full picture. Jill's motive was fame. She wanted to be famous, to be the center of attention, to have what Sydney had without any of the actual trauma or suffering. Now, this was already sort of done with Roman in Scream 3, but Jill just did it better. She took Roman's blueprint and perfected it, and a lot of that success comes down to Emma Roberts' absolutely phenomenal performance. She sold the sweet, traumatized cousin act so convincingly that even longtime fans were genuinely shocked by the reveal. Most people think Jill's body count sits at just 2, Charlie and Trevor, her accomplice and her ex-boyfriend. But I personally think it's 5. I believe she also killed Deputy Haas, Deputy Perkins, and her own mother, Kate Roberts. The way those kills were executed, the timing, the methodology, it all points to Jill being the one behind the mask for those moments, not Charlie. Psychologically, this is where Jill truly shines and cements herself as one of the all-time greats. Jill is one of the smartest ghost faces in the entire franchise, second only to her cousin Roman himself. She fooled Sidney Prescott, the ultimate final girl who had survived 3 separate killing sprees and should have been the hardest person in the world to deceive, into believing she was just an innocent victim caught up in someone else's game. She played the role perfectly, never giving Sidney any reason to suspect her until the very end. That led to one of the greatest killer reveals in any Scream movie, maybe even the best reveal in the entire franchise. And then there's the fact that she killed her own mother. Jill stabbed Kate Roberts in the back without hesitation, murdering her own flesh and blood to further her plan for fame. That makes her the first of only 2 ghost faces in the entire series to kill their own family member. That's a line most killers won't cross, but Jill didn't even blink. But here's where Jill falls short, and this is what keeps her out of the top 3, her brutality, or rather, her lack of it. Unlike Charlie, who drew out his kills and made them theatrical and agonizing, Jill's kills were really quick and efficient. She stabbed Haas in the back. She stabbed Perkins in the head. She stabbed her mom in the back. She shot Trevor in the head, and she stabbed Charlie in the heart. No drawn-out suffering. All of this shows that despite Jill being incredibly narcissistic, manipulative, and depraved in terms of her psychology and willingness to murder family, she didn't actually have the stomach for prolonged violence or torture. Jill wanted the fame that came from being a survivor, but she didn't want to get her hands too dirty in the process. She killed efficiently because she wanted it over with, not because she enjoyed making people suffer. Compare that to the top 3 on this list, who all demonstrated a genuine appetite for causing pain, and you can see why Jill, for all her intelligence and cunning, lands at number 4. She's brilliant, she's ruthless, she's willing to cross lines others won't, but she's not sadistic. And in a ranking of the most evil ghost faces, that matters. Now we're getting near the finish line. Taking the number 3 spot is Amber Freeman from Scream 5. On the surface, she and Richie sought to requel the Stab franchise and create the perfect story to revitalize the series. But here's what separates Amber from her partner. I don't think Amber truly cared that much about making a movie. The film stuff was Richie's obsession. For Amber, it was just a justification she could hide behind while indulging in what she really wanted, which was the violence itself. With a body count of 5 confirmed kills, Amber ties with Jill Roberts as having the most kills of any female Ghostface in the entire franchise. She also ties with both Jill and Charlie as having the 4th most kills of any Ghostface killer period, which puts her in extremely deadly company. But what's particularly notable about Amber's body count is the composition of her victims. She holds the record for most police officers killed by any single Ghostface at 3. Judy Hicks, the deputy guarding Tara at the hospital, and Dewey Riley himself. Think about that for a second. Most Ghostfaces avoid cops or try to work around them. Amber actively hunted them down. Brutality-wise, Amber was a wild animal. She savagely attacked her victims over and over, going far beyond what was necessary to kill them. She put everything she had into every knife thrust, stabbing with a feral intensity that most ghost faces don't display. And then there's what she did to Dewey. She viciously gutted him, making absolutely sure he suffered before the end. Dewey was a fan favorite character who had survived 4 movies, and Amber destroyed him with a level of brutality that was genuinely shocking even by Scream standards. Psychologically, Amber was extremely psychotic, rivaling even Stu Macher in terms of pure, unhinged chaos. The whole situation was just fun to her, but not in a playful way. She genuinely enjoyed hurting people. She smiled when she attacked. She got excited when she caused pain. There was no deeper meaning driving her. Amber just loved violence for violence's sake, and used the requel plan as an excuse to unleash it. Unlike killers lower on the list who had understandable motives or showed hesitation, Amber dove headfirst into the role of Ghostface and relished every second of it. She's proof that sometimes the scariest killers aren't the ones with elaborate plans or tragic backstories. They're the ones who just enjoy hurting people and find any excuse to do it. Coming in at number 2 is Stu Macher himself, the original partner in crime from Scream, who made his shocking return in Scream 7 as an AI entity. Let's talk about Stu's motive, because it might be the most disturbing one in the entire franchise. Peer pressure. That's it. No dead mother, no revenge plot, no fame-seeking ambition, no grand ideology about cinema. Just, hey, wanna kill someone? Yeah, sure. There's something so deeply, fundamentally fucked up about how casual that is. Billy asked him to help commit murder, and Stu said yes because it sounded like a good time. That kind of motiveless malignancy is terrifying in a way that elaborate revenge schemes simply aren't. Stu's body count in the original Scream sits at 3, Stephen Orth, Tatum Riley, and Kenny the cameraman. Not the highest number on this list, but the way he killed them matters more than the quantity. Brutality-wise, Stu was absolutely sick. He gutted Stephen Orth in the opening sequence, spilling his intestines in front of Casey Becker just to torture her psychologically before killing her too. He killed Tatum, his own girlfriend, someone he was supposedly in a relationship with, by crushing her in a garage door, one of the most inventive and cruel deaths in the entire franchise. Psychologically, Stu is where things get truly terrifying. He admits himself that framing Neil Prescott for all the murders was his idea, not Billy's. Stu was the tactical planner, the one who thought about how to get away with it. He outright says planning the murder spree was fun for him. Not just the killing itself, but the logistics, the scheming, the game of it all. He's completely unhinged in the final act, laughing and joking while covered in blood, treating the whole situation like it's the best party he's ever been to. But here's the icing on the cake, the line that cements Stu as one of the most evil ghost faces ever.
You see, Sid, everybody dies but us. Everybody dies but us. We're gonna carry on and plan the sequel, because let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel.
Stu literally planned to keep on killing even after getting away with the Woodsboro murders. This wasn't a one-time thing for him. This wasn't revenge that would end once Sydney was dead. Stu wanted to make serial killing his hobby and lifestyle. He was already thinking about the next spree and the next set of victims. That's a pure psychopath who found his calling. And had Stu actually returned in human form in Scream 7, instead of just as an AI, he would have become the new king of ghost faces, taking the crown away from Roman Bridger. The body count he could have racked up with decades of experience, the psychological games he could have played, the sheer chaos he would have unleashed. It would have been unstoppable. As it stands, even with just his original appearance and brief AI presence, Stu Macher sits comfortably at number 2 on this list of the most evil ghost faces. And finally, claiming the number 1 spot as the most evil ghost face in the entire franchise is Mickey Altieri from Scream 2. Mickey's motive is perhaps the most chilling in the entire series. He wanted to get caught. He wanted to be arrested, put on trial, and become famous off the media circus that would follow. Mickey understood that in America, even killers can become famous and have their faces plastered across every news channel. He wanted to blame the movies for his actions and turn his trial into a national conversation about media violence. He was weaponizing the justice system itself as part of his plan. That's a level of calculated, cynical evil that goes beyond anything Billy, Stu, Jill, or even Roman ever conceived. With a body count of 7 confirmed kills, Mickey is one of the deadliest ghost faces of all time, second only to Roman Bridger. Brutality-wise, Mickey was an absolute powerhouse. The guy rivaled Wayne Bailey in terms of sheer physical strength and combat ability, with Roman being arguably the only other ghost face who could take him down in a straight fight. Mickey didn't rely on stealth or surprise as much as other killers. He could overpower his victims through raw force. He was fast, he was strong, and he was relentless. When Mickey attacked, you weren't getting away unless you had serious help. Psychologically, here's what separates Mickey from every other Ghostface on this list. He was already a serial killer before becoming Ghostface. Before Nancy Loomis ever recruited him, before he ever put on the mask, Mickey Altieri had already murdered people. He was already a predator. The Ghostface killings weren't his origin story. They were just another chapter in a career that was already underway. There's something deeply unsettling about someone who kills just because they can, just because they want to, with no emotional trigger or personal investment required. In a world where Ghostface never came to be, in a timeline where Billy Loomis never murdered Maureen Prescott and started this whole legacy, Mickey Altieri would still be out there murdering people. Every other Ghostface on this list, even the worst of them, had some kind of inciting incident or personal reason driving them. But Mickey was a killer before any of that. He would have been a killer regardless. The Ghostface persona was just convenient packaging for urges he already had. That's what makes Mickey Altieri the most evil Ghostface in the entire Scream franchise. He's not the most iconic, he's not the fan favorite, he doesn't have the highest body count, and he's not the mastermind behind the legacy, but he is the purest distillation of evil the series has ever produced. A man who kills because he likes it, who plans to get caught because he wants the attention, and who would be murdering people no matter what mask he wore or what franchise he was part of. Mickey Altieri is the most evil Ghostface because unlike all the others, there's no version of his life where he isn't a monster. Despite all the rankings, here's the fundamental truth we can't escape. Every single Ghostface on this list chose to willingly pick up a knife and murder people. Nobody forced them, nobody made them do it. Every single one of them had options they could have taken to deal with their personal issues, and every single one of them chose violence instead. Scream has always been a social commentary on personal responsibility. It's always been about the fact that you are responsible for your own actions, no matter what excuses you try to hide behind. You can't blame the movies you watched. You can't blame your broken home. You can't blame society or the internet or your trauma or your mental illness. At the end of the day, you made the choice to hurt someone, and that choice is on you and you alone. That's what makes Ghostface so terrifying as a horror villain. It's not supernatural evil you can't reason with. It's not some unkillable force of nature. It's human evil, the kind that makes a choice, the kind that could be anyone, the kind that we're all capable of if we let our worst impulses win. Ghostface is a mirror held up to the darkness that exists in ordinary people. And the scariest part is realizing that darkness is always there, waiting for someone to choose to unleash it. So while we can rank these killers from least evil to most evil, while we can analyze their motives and methods and psychology, we can't lose sight of the fact that they all crossed the same line. They all chose to become monsters. And that choice, more than anything else, is what defines them. Alrighty, that wraps up my ranking of every Ghostface from Scream 1 through 7, from least evil to most evil. Thank you all so much for watching this video and sticking with me through all 16 killers. I know this was a long one. So now I want to hear from you. Did you agree with my rankings? Do you think Mickey deserves the top spot, or should it have gone to someone else? Whatever your thoughts are, I want to hear them. List your own ranking in the comments below and give me your reasons for why you placed each Ghostface where you did. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, make sure to hit that like button for the algorithm. It genuinely helps the channel grow. And if you have any suggestions for future topics you'd like me to cover, leave those suggestions in the comment section as well. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay safe out there and remember, it's always someone you know.